guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Katherine and my channel is KWSHOPS. Today's video we are talking about luxury mistakes that you can probably skip. You guys know I do love my luxury goods. I do shop them myself, but you may know that I actually do work in the resale industry and have worked in this industry for about 5 years. So you not only get to benefit from my mistakes, but you also get the added benefit of secondhand information from my clients. So these are not all mistakes that I've made. These are mistakes that I just see made over and over and over again. Because when it comes to resale value, there are certain quality aspects to take into account. And then just generally, for me and my mindset and my lifestyle, it doesn't make sense to purchase something that is very expensive, does not have much potential for resale value in the end. Now, on this channel, and I always say this, and I will never not say it because it is very important, we do not subscribe to luxury goods being reliable financial investments because they are not. However, I am more comfortable spending designer money on something, knowing that I will potentially be able to get some money back when I am done with the item. Otherwise, for me, I would contend that it's not worth it to spend the money. And everyone's opinion on this is different. However, designer goods are not reliable financial investments. No. A lot of the things I'm going to be talking about relate to the resale value of the items. They are just general mistakes that we all can probably avoid. If that interests you, if you like insights into the luxury reselling market, then please hit the subscribe button down below. Also the bell icon so you can be notified when I upload videos. The first luxury mistake that we don't have to make, this is something that I will never do, is personally, and everyone's number is going to be different, but I will not personally spend more than $400 or $500 pre-loved on a white leather handbag. So, white bags, they will get dirty over time. Color transfer can be a large issue, and they may discolor over the course of many years. It's just, white is just a magnet for stains, and the same goes for your leather handbags. So as far as resale goes, when you do buy a handbag when you do buy a designer handbag in white leather, if and when you do decide to sell it, first of all, the condition may not be great that it comes in, but a lot of people will not wear white leather, and white is just a very hard color to sell, as well as it doesn't tend to hold up very well unless you just don't use it, in which case I would call that a mistake of a purchase. I love white leather, I love white sneakers, I love to wear white, but as far as spending real luxury designer money on a leather handbag, I won't do it. I won't do it. Even pre-loved, unfortunately. So the second thing to skip are designer phone cases. I've spoken about this before, but I just do really want to reinforce it that designer phone cases are not worth the money. First of all, I've heard many people say who have purchased them over the years that they don't really do much by way of protecting your phone. So I have the iPhone 10. I've had it now for about a year, I think. You know, this phone costs about, I don't know, over $1,000, right? And it is a hassle. I do have insurance on it, but it is like an entire hassle to replace this if something were to happen to it. So my idea of spending more money on a phone case would be for it to be more protected. And what I have instead is just a pop socket, but this is a little cheap silicone case from like Best Buy or something, $15 with a plexiglass screen protector. All in total, this might be $40 worth of money spent, and my phone has been completely protected in the process. The other obvious glaring problem with phone cases is that they are built to fit one phone, and these phones change every couple of years. So let's say I do keep this phone for 2 years. When it does come time for me to upgrade to my next phone, there is some resale value in the phone itself, but the accessories are largely going to be obsolete. The other thing to consider is that 2 years from now, I have the iPhone 10, will probably be on like the iPhone 47 or whatever, I don't know. But there will not be a market for people buying the iPhone 10 case. That is the thing to consider. There is very little resale value in phone cases simply because the technology updates. And bear in mind, anyone looking to spend designer luxury money on a phone case very likely has the money to upgrade phones. So that is my contention, to not buy designer phone cases. If they were to start making pop sockets, honestly, I think that might be an avenue to consider, but just designer phone cases, I contend, are a complete waste of money. So, okay, so the next thing for me personally is designer sneakers. I'm not into it. I'm not into it. I have a number of reasons. Number one, I am not a huge sneaker wearer. I mean, I am, but when I wear my sneakers, I'm not wearing them generally in the capacity of like trying to do fashion, which is up to everyone's personal style and taste. However, I don't see much difference in quality of designer sneakers versus your Nikes and your Pumas and your Adidas. The extra money spent, sometimes the difference in price can be 10 times. If you compare Adidas, the classic Adidas, what are they called? Anyways, when you compare those at like maybe $70 or $80 to a similar pair that might be $400 or up to $800, I really just don't see the added value in getting them designer. They're gonna get dirty the same way, they're made of largely the same materials, and flat shoes are not something that are very exciting to me. So personally, I would not buy designer sneakers. When I buy designer shoes, and actually this is a topic I'm playing with, making a video about later, but designer shoes for me have to be like exciting, and flat shoes are not very exciting for me. Therefore, I just personally am not very inspired to spend a whole bunch of money on flat shoes. So, but that's just me. You guys may feel differently. Let me know your thoughts down below. Okay, so since we are on the subject of shoes, I'm gonna talk about soles. When you are shopping for shoes, and let's say you've worn the shoes once or twice and you're not really getting on with them, so you decide to resell them, the hugest difference in price value between two different pairs of shoes will be the sole. For example, I'm talking about a soft leather sole like this one and a coated or textured leather sole like this. Now, both of these shoes have been worn probably about the same number of times, and as you can see, this has the harder type of leather sole with some type of coating that gives it that little bit of sheen on the outside. Obviously, yes, I have worn these, and I love both of these shoes. I would never go to sell them, but very often what happens with a pair of Jimmy Choo is a great example of this actually. When you have those softer and more raw leather soles, they will stain easily and they wear almost immediately. So even if you've worn them once, they look like they've been worn for miles and miles and miles. And unfortunately, when it comes to resale value, that is a huge, huge factor. It overall just makes the shoes appear to be more worn even though they aren't. So when shopping for shoes, I like to stick to these type of shoes that have this coating. Some of them may have like a rubber coating or some type of texture. You just want something that's a bit sturdier, that's going to show a lot less wear. And of course, what I think I'm going to end up doing with these shoes, because I love them so much, by the way, these are from Chloe. I've had them for maybe a year now, and I think that they're super cute. But what's very likely what I'm going to do is put Vibram soles on them. I've done this with my Louboutins, and these I've worn a bunch of times, and they still look like they're in new condition. And they're going to continue to look this way as long as I wear them. So likely that's what I'll end up doing here, but you have to do this a lot sooner with softer leather soles, which is why I like to avoid the raw or soft leather soles. The next thing I'm not into is designer goods that have lower end inspiration. This to me is completely backwards. For as long as I have paid attention to fashion, which you know is most of my life, it has been the lower end designers that have sought inspiration from the top tier premier luxury designers. From the runway shows, and very slowly the trends shown by the larger designers will trickle down into fast fashion and like fast and everyday fashion. That's sort of been the way things have worked for I don't know, like a century. And now recently what's been happening is designers taking inspiration from already established lower to mid-range brands. I mean, for example, like the Gucci Ace sneakers, I think look very, very similar to the Adidas Stan Smith. Isabel Marant, among others, doing their version of Birkenstocks, which have existed since maybe the 50s. Not sure. And of course, the pool slide trend. Pool slides have always existed and they've been inexpensive. And now, honestly, I just see it as taking someone else's work and just slapping a higher price tag on it, and I can't get behind that. I can't. And of course, I'm gonna set aside the fact that I have made no secret about this. I kind of hate the current shoe trends. However, it's really hard for me to get behind just slapping a higher price tag on something that already exists because it has your name on it instead of the original designers, I guess. So that's definitely something that I'm gonna be skipping. But I am not sure if I would feel differently if I actually did like the trends. So who knows? So the next thing is limited edition collections. Now, this obviously does not count if you just happen to find something and fall in love with it. For example, I have my Balenciaga Ladis, which was a limited style it was a style that Balenciaga created for like a small, short period of time. But I think this marble print might have been a part of some like special collection or something. I'm not sure. I just know that there aren't a lot of these available on the market. I happen to really love this, so all the value to me materializes out of like the swoon factor, so that's fine. But the difference for me and limited edition pieces is that I don't see myself as a collector of luxury goods. I'm of the mind of use things and love people. I buy things, whether they be expensive or inexpensive, with the intention of using them. And that being said, with limited edition collections, especially when you think of like the Christmas animation screen printing from Louis Vuitton and other types of and other screen printed collections that they will release throughout the seasons, these things are known to chip. And when you start using something and it's going on the inside of your bag, then that is it's much more delicate than I feel like it should be, especially for something that goes inside. First and foremost, I'm not a collector. I buy things with the intention of using them, which is why they cannot be delicate. Second of all, as far as resale value goes, if you know there's going to be a new collection released every season or every couple of years, unless you just sort of get lucky and it happens to be a collection that really takes hold, resale value really does not bode well generally. People outside of collectors, which is a very specific set of people that there aren't that many of them relative to the luxury buying population, that are going to be willing to pay the premium for a limited released piece. Obviously there's a market for everything, but I don't see the purpose for me in my lifestyle, and just generally it has been my experience in resale that limited edition pieces are worth buying, unless you just happen to love them. Okay, so I've never really been into fine jewelry. This necklace that I wear was given to me by my mother, but other than that, I am not so into fine jewelry. So one thing I definitely don't foresee myself ever purchasing is designer fine jewelry pieces. Yes, I do think that there is room in my collection one day, not right now, but someday, for some designer costume jewelry, even though that may or may not be worth the price to some people. We know that these designer goods are marked up on face value, but fine jewelry in general is marked up, and then once you get to the fashion brands markup, these items have been marked up 2 times, and the resale value does not hold for such things. And I am no expert on fine jewelry. Please bear that in mind. But people who are into fine jewelry generally don't shop fine jewelry with designer brands. Now, yes, of course, we have our Tiffany & Co., our Cartier. Brands do definitely make a difference in that respect, but they're sticking to their niche, basically. And the same holds true for when the jewelry brands tend to go into the handbag world. Those don't tend to do well either. So it's sort of a factor of stay in your lane. But as far as price goes, to spend, I don't know how much Chanel fine jewelry costs, but to spend that, you could probably get better fine jewelry for the same price. And in the fine jewelry world, the like fashion brands don't really make that much of a difference, it seems, in the resale market. Obviously, there are going to be exceptions to everything, but that's just sort of been my general experience of it. So yes, now the next thing I don't foresee myself ever buying, and this is another thing you can probably skip, are leather SLGs. Now I do have to make one exception. I do own one, and that is this Chanel key holder. It is made from a very highly textured leather, as you can see, and it is black. So the main reason, and I spoke briefly about this when I was talking about the SLGs from the Louis Vuitton Christmas animation lines. Generally speaking, everyone's different. Some people baby their items more than others, and other people will not care for the things inside of their bags the way other people probably would. And the things inside of your bag, inside of handbags, tend to get thrashed over time. I like to take care of my things, but I do see from working in the resale industry that we are the exception to the rule. When you start to see leather SLGs in bright colors, especially in things like Chanel lambskin, if you're not careful, and by careful I mean very, very careful, then you'll have punctures, you'll have wrinkles, you'll have stains, and just general, like, a layer of grime. I've spoken about what not to do with your bag to keep them in good condition, and I will link that down below in the description box. All of those things that I say not to do just to keep your bags in good condition, it will work the same way for the SLGs inside of your bags, especially if they're leather. Now, because SLGs for me serve a purpose, because once again, I don't view myself as a collector of luxury goods. I like canvas. I like the fact that these are not going to stain, they're not gonna wrinkle largely. I'll talk about this in another video, but they're not gonna wrinkle, they're not gonna stain. If anything, I might just get a little bit of patina or something, which I can handle, I can deal with that. I need my things to stand up, to wear. I don't wanna be babying my stuff, and which is why, to me, leather SLGs are a no. They look great in like Instagram pictures, but I think that's about as far as it goes, practically speaking. And the last is something random that I don't really understand why designers make these things. That's swimwear and lingerie. Like, again, I feel like we should stay in our lanes. I mentioned before regarding my luxury pieces that I am more comfortable spending money on items if there is some sort of resale value. If I know that once I'm no longer using the piece, I can get some of my money back by reselling it. And swimwear and lingerie should not be a part of the resale market. I believe that to the core of my being, that should not be a thing. I do not believe it is okay or hygienic to have things that go on intimate areas as a part of the resale market, and I stand by that. Sorry. And that goes for bodysuits too. That's gross. No. What that means is that there really is no point in purchasing them. Now, to go for, I don't generally go for ready-to-wear clothing. I don't like to spend a whole bunch of money on clothing just because it is so seasonal, and I get bored easily. But I just do not see a world where I buy the Fendi bikini. And let's also set aside the fact that you're probably not supposed to swim in these things, even though I don't swim anyway, so this is kind of not a problem for me. And I would probably make an exception with maybe like a really cool bralette that's supposed to be like visible as part of your outfit. But just generally speaking, like, no. Okay, so those are a list of about 10 or 11 things that I don't think I'll ever buy, with the reasons behind it. Now, of course, these are all my opinions. You guys may feel very differently about some of these things. I know that a lot of people in the luxe community really get a lot of joy from seeing many pops of color inside of their handbags with their leather SLGs, for example, and I think that's great. These are just things that I may not buy and the reasons behind them, but a lot of that reasoning is based on my experience in the resale industry. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!